couple of months ago, I went to Silver Dollar City in Branson, Missouri. If you clicked on this video, you probably know what this is. It's basically Disney World if it was Western. It has roller coasters, it has shows, it has food, and everything has a cowboy twist to it. About a year ago, I made the ultimate review of Cedar Point, and ever since then, people have been asking me to make another ultimate review of another park. Well, 2 nights ago, I had an unexpected trip to the ER that ended up with me getting surgery, 3 stitches, and a lot of amazing World of Gumball. Basically, what I'm trying to say is I have a lot of time on my hands. So if there's any time to make this review, it's now, because this is really an amazing park. I'm gonna split this up into 5 sections: coasters, rides, food, and theming. You can skip to wherever you want, or you can just watch the whole video from start to finish, because that really helps out the channel, and also you'll get the best overview of this park. So without further ado, let's jump into the ultimate review of Silver Dollar City. This isn't a Six Flags park or a Cedar Fair park packed to the brim with coasters. This is a Herschend park, which means it only has a handful of coasters, but those coasters are all really high quality. There are 4 main coasters here: Powder Keg, Wildfire, Time Traveler, and of course Outlaw Run. There's a pretty cool mine train called Thunderation that's a cool journey throughout the woods, and Fire in the Hole, which is more of a dark ride than a coaster, but it's still worth your time if you want to break from the heat. There's a kiddie coaster called Grand Exposition Coaster, but I'm not like 6, so I didn't go on it. But those aren't the rides you want to hear about. You want to hear about the launch coaster through the woods. You want to hear about the world's first extreme spinning coaster. You want to hear about one of the best wooden coasters ever built.
Wake up, filthy.
Outlaw Run is the park's headlining coaster and arguably headlining attraction as a whole. It was the first wooden coaster of 3 inversions and has one of the steepest drops on any wooden ride out there. You'll find it all the way in the back of the park, down the hills with signs pointing to it everywhere. It's a bit of a hike to get to, but if you make it back there, it is definitely worth it. And just look at this ride entrance. The half-broken wooden background, the Western font and that signature bronze, and the outlaw riding a horse on top of all of it. It's truly a masterclass in ride science. It is a great way to kick off the ride experience. And then you get to this shed of a station with the wooden planks, the overhead lanterns, the barrels, the haystacks, the wheels. It all makes for a great way to set for the tone for the wild ride that you're embarking on. It's not the best theming you'll ever see in the world, but it's not trying to be. It just needs to be enough to bring you into the story. For those that don't know, all the rides at Silver Dollar City have an individual story where, in typical Western fashion, the good guys always win. In this case, the station is a stagecoach depot where we depart from. We are law enforcement tasked with taking down outlaws that's intercepted merchants and have stolen their goods. And by the end of it, we've gotten their goods and escaped the outlaws in spectacular fashion. It's a very loose theme, but it's got just enough so that it's just not another bland, nameless coaster. It gives it a bit of character and isn't executed that badly. The trains are well decorated, the station is filled with the goods, and the ride setting in the forest basically serves as the backdrop for the story. But that's not the main appeal of the ride. The main appeal is, of course, it just being a great coaster. The first drop is probably one of the best out there. Like, I'm being serious, the first drop is a complete gut punch. I'm always surprised how good this is, and it's a great way to kick off the ride. Then you pull right back up into this crazy inversion. Like what the hell am I looking at? What is this thing? I don't even know what you call it. All I know is it's really good. There's a couple of twisted airtime hills and a wave turn that give some aggressive airtime until you finally hit that grand finale. A double barrel roll into the brakes. It's such a perfect way to contrast the rest of the ride, because after such an airtime packed aggressive ride, it finishes with a graceful climb back to the top of the hill. It gives great hang time and is a really cool spectacle for anyone looking at it. It's not a super long ride, but honestly, I think it packs more into those like 30 seconds than most coasters could do in an hour. You'll be shocked every time you hit the brakes, not knowing what just happened. Is it the best RMC out there? No, it's not even the best one I've been on, but it was a lot closer than I thought it would be, and I bet you if you rode it, it would be a lot better than you were expecting. A lot of people complain about the roughness, but really, it's not any rougher than I was expecting. Like, yeah, it's a wooden coaster. It's not gonna be glossy smooth. That would be a little weird. That's a given. I don't know why people go on expecting this ride to not be bumpy. Like, it's made of wood. If anything, that gives it more theming and more character. This ride alone is a great reason to go to the park, but there are 3 other coasters that are all just as amazing. The most recent coaster addition to the park is Time Traveler, a mock extreme spinning coaster that was the first extreme spinner, and since then there's only been one more opened in Belgium, so I'm willing to bet that this is the only one most of you watching will ever attempt to go on. And this is a great compliment to Outlaw Run. Is it as intense as I thought it would be? No, it's not. And originally that threw me off a little. I didn't really think I liked this coaster very much because of that. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized that that's probably a good thing. This is just a smooth, graceful, fun ride. It's not trying to blow your balls off. That's what Outlaw Run is for. This is just trying to be a good time, and at that it absolutely succeeds with flying colors. The launches are all really smooth and get pretty fast, albeit not at the fastest accelerations. The inversions all just feel really strange taking them spinning. You never actually know which way is up and which way is down, which I know kind of sounds cliche, but with a spinning coaster, like that's actually what you feel. There's also a really strong pop of airtime like in the middle of the ride, just for like no reason. Like they didn't need to put that there, but they did, and it's cool. Also, the whole theme of this ride is really well executed. There's these clocks all over the station. The ride sign is just incredible, and look at these trains. These gotta be some of the most intricately designed trains out there. The ride's also built on this hill into like a ditch, which allows for a really cool first drop out of the station that you can take forward, backwards, or sideways, depending on where you're sitting. And the rest of the ride is just down there, which is really cool to see from the station. It does make for an awkward launch at the end. That's only goal is really to get you back up to the station, and then it kind of just ends, but whatever. The ride is still great and another hit in the Silver Dollar City collection. Powder Keg is another really good ride. This ride serves as the park's hypercoaster. Don't let the launch fool you. It's really more about floater airtime in a smooth and graceful layout. And I gotta say, it does a really good job of that. This is Frankenstein together with a water rapids ride, which is a little weird, and now this roller coaster, and despite that, it's still glossy smooth. It was shocking to me because I was sure I was gonna get jackhammered by every turn and every drop, but it really felt like Premier's take on the B&M Hyper with a launch in the beginning. And let me tell you, that launch is incredible. You get blasted into that top hat. It feels like you're going to outer space. There's the fire effect, the whole viewing platform, and the theming elements around it, making it a grand spectacle for the park, and when you're on the ride. And then you get into the swooping layout with the lift hill in the middle that switches tracks. It's a really weird ride, from the switch track in the beginning to literally switching tracks mid-ride, but I like it a lot. I also really like the setting on the hilltop, like all of these rides. Outlaw Run, it's not that big of a deal, but I feel like especially for this and Wildfire, it feels like you're out on the edge and you could fall off at any moment. It also just makes the ride feel taller. I don't know, something about that makes me just like the ride more, and it's also very prevalent, like I said before, with Wildfire. Now, at first glance, this may just look like an average B&M looper plopped in a hillside, and to an extent, that's kind of what it is. The location of the ride is definitely the highlight, but it's also not the only thing that makes the ride. The layout isn't just your standard floorless layout. It's got a straight drop that gives a surprising amount of ejector, an Immelman, and some low-to-the-ground turns towards the ends. It's not a long ride, but it tears through that layout really well. And like I said before, the hilltop location is spectacular. You really can't picture it well until you've been there. Like, the videos and pictures online don't do it justice. And the park knows this. They've built a whole viewing deck and practically a whole little plaza just so you can watch a ride in the mountains. It really is amazing. It's a solid layout, a cool name, and a fantastic location. So I know I just talked about the 4 major coasters, which are definitely the 4 most popular rides, but there's still a ton of other rides, both thrill and family oriented, for you to enjoy. There's Mystic River Falls, a really cool raft ride that got me soaking before my ride in Outlaw Run. There's the Marvel Cave Tour, which takes you 300 feet down below the park into the cave that the park was built on. There's the train ride that gives you a great view of all the rides and the hillsides. I just want to say that this was recorded before the accident, which is just a tragedy. These type of accidents should not be happening at parks of this size, especially on a ride as tame as the train ride. So as much as I commend this park, that is completely unacceptable. My condolences go out to all of the victims and their families. Thank you. There's the giant barn swing and S&S screaming swing that, because of the hilltop setting, feels unearthly high. And of course, you have your classic rides like carousels, swings, teacups, and so many more. There's really something for everyone, even if you're not into the big coasters. Now, I do want to mention in this section is the park layout. As you can see, the park layout is one of the worst feats of human planning ever to exist. There's dead end after dead end with seemingly no rhyme or reason or structure to the layout whatsoever. It's kind of a circle, but it's not really. Like, it's got some connecting pathways, but again, you just have random pathways that lead nowhere or to like a singular ride. I'd also like to point out that the back of this park is downhill. Now, the hill is massive, but for some reason, I found myself walking up and down that hill over and over again. Now, that might have just been us being stupid and not doing things in the right order, but I really did feel like we had to keep going up and down this one stupid hill in order to get to the rides that we wanted to get to. There was also water running down this blacktop hill all day, which seems like a disaster waiting to happen. So the park's layout kind of sucked, but that might just be the price we have to pay for a park on a hill over a cave. Okay, this is the big one. The theming in this park is simply incredible. It's some of the best theming outside of a Disney or Universal park in the world. Not just the US, the world. The park has a whole Midwestern theme to it, and it's present in every part. Every building, every tree, even every staff member immerses you into this world of the Midwest. in the middle of the Midwest. And the thing is, it's not just show. There are actual craftsman shops at the park with legit crafts. There's a blacksmith shed we passed a lot with a guy actually blacksmithing metal. I don't really know what the term is. There's glass blowing, there's bead stands, there's handcrafted bags, beef jerky, personalized signs, honey. It's really like a Western farmer's market just spread out throughout the park. I really like it. It gives the park a more alive feel, seeing all these people buying everyday goods just inside a theme park. And it's authentic too. You see the blacksmithing, I still don't know the term. You see all of these craftsmen making their items in front of your eyes. It just immerses you more into this world that they're creating. And all the staff members are friendly and playing their part. The ones outside the saloon especially were really good at rounding people up for their show, shouting at them to come in for their lovely ladies. There was also this show that kind of just popped up out of nowhere as we were walking between like two cast members. They kind of just started arguing that it turned into a whole performance, which I was just not expecting. Like, it's little things like this that make this park special. Like, they didn't need to do that, but they did. And it's also not just the little things, like obviously it is the big things too. This park is broken up into 6 sections, each with their own theme. Now these themes are executed to varying degrees, but the best example is Fireman's Landing. It really does feel like you're stepping into like a fireman's campground, kind of like an outdoor fire station. And even though it's mostly a kiddie area, I think it's really well done. The other section that comes close is Wilson's Farm. There's the barn swing, there's a cow you can milk, a massive barn, there's hoof prints in the ground. It all just brings you into this ranch world that kind of sprouts out of nowhere. But aside from that, I'm not gonna lie, the other lands are all kind of the same. Like, I could not tell you the difference between the Grand Exposition, Midtown, Valley Road, and Hugo's Hill Street if you had a gun to my head. You could probably switch those around the map and it would change nothing. But the thing is, the land names themselves don't really matter. The theming within these lands are all so good that I really don't care. Like, all the buildings looked ripped straight from a movie. What movie that is, I don't know, but like, they look really good. There's trees and landscaping all over the park that block out the rest of the world until you get to a hillside where they want you to see the rest of the world. It just creates an amazing atmosphere and shows you that you can do good theming with extreme coasters. And like I said before, the coasters themselves all have themes attached to them, and their stations and queues are all very well themed, especially time travelers. There's not that much really else to say about theming, just like look at this footage. This park is just beautiful from start to finish. Now this is something I'd heard a lot about before my trip. I'd heard of the legendary food of the park, including the world famous cinnamon bread, and let me say the food definitely lived up to the hype. First off, that cinnamon bread is delicious. I would definitely recommend getting it because it was A, really good, and B, a nice break from the heat. I'm not a chef, this isn't Chef Tunes, so I can't really describe all the intricacies of the bread. It's just good. And that's not the only food that was good. The food across the board is just high quality. Now I will say the only food we got was corn dogs, which are really good corn dogs, but at the end of the day, they're still just corn dogs. But just walking around the park and seeing the rest of the food, more importantly, smelling the rest of the food, I can confidently say that everyone here will find something to enjoy. It's not average theme park food. It has the Silver Dollar City quality stamp like the rest of the park. And if the corn dogs were good, you know that just speaks to the quality of all the food. We did, however, snag some candy on the way out in the massive candy store by Time Traveler, and let me say that peanut brittle was exquisite. It must have been laced with crack or something. Like, I could not stop eating that bag once it was open. Needless to say, that bag was gone pretty fast. The tofu we also got was pretty solid, but I only ended up eating one piece, which I thought would be like cherry or watermelon or something, but it ended up being cinnamon, which kind of sucked. I mean, the candy itself didn't suck. I was just expecting something sweet, and then getting cinnamon is like a slap in the face. But the food here is really good. It's a 10 out of 10. The whole park is a 10 out of 10, really. I really loved this park when I went there. Great rides, great theming, great food. That's all I need. The 3 pillars of an amazing park, and this park excels in all of them. If you're ever in the area of Branson, Missouri, or just Missouri in general, you need to visit this park. It's not like a massive park either. You could realistically knock this thing out in a day or less if crowds aren't terrible, but it just packs so much quality into its space. This is joining the short list of parks that are 10s and has made me that much more excited to visit Dollywood. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. It was a bigger video that I put more work into, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.